I think there's times that it gets forgotten. Sometimes it gets kind of pushed back. That I'm a hockey fan, much like you. And when I'm watching hockey games, I cheer, I get angry, just the same as everybody else. Now, when I fire this webcam up and I start talking to people, I have to take that and set it aside. Now, when we watch guys on TSN or Sportsnet or ESPN, guys who are reporting on hockey, you know they're cheering. You know they're angry. You know they're surprised. You know they're emotional watching hockey. It's a sport that conjures up tremendous emotions. The first video I had on this channel that kind of blew up was the video about the 2016 draft lottery. And the funny part with that was that up until then, I'd had a couple of videos that might hit like 100 views, and I was like, how? Why? So I set up a camera. I decided it would be kind of fun to capture the moment that the number one draft pick is revealed, because hopefully it's the Canucks. So I got my goofy looking hat and goofy looking jersey on. I thought, all right, I'm going to look as goofy as possible because the Canucks lose everything, so I got to dress the part. And I reacted pretty viscerally to the whole thing. I was really angry when the number one draft pick, which became Austin Matthews, went to Toronto. Really angry. Because I had felt for years like the Leafs were being reported on too much, as a lot of people in this part of the world did. So I was angry. That video hit like 5,000 views over a period of a few days, and I'm like, wait, what's going on here? Suddenly, I had subscribers. And there were some Leaf fans that came in at that point. And they came in to tell me off because I wasn't happy the Leafs had won it. And then they watched subsequent videos and they went, all right, maybe we'll give this guy a chance. Other guys didn't. But it's that visceral reaction that gives me the passion to do this every day. That gave me the desire to buy all of this. The great moments I experienced watching Boston win a Stanley Cup. That run was so much fun. Every time they won, I blasted Shipping Up to Boston in my apartment and yelled and screamed and sung along. I did it again in 2013 when they went back to the Stanley Cup final. 1982, when I learned "Na Na, Hey Hey, Goodbye" watching the Canucks go to the final. I sang that for weeks, even after they'd been eliminated by the Islanders. 94, I cheered and screamed my way through the Canucks making it to the final again. And for Dallas, yeah, I cheered when they won the Cup in 99. I cheered when they went to the final the year after. I cheered every time they knocked out Edmonton. I laughed every time they knocked out Edmonton. But the funny part is this. The question was asked of me on Twitter yesterday. About, and I believe it was asked of me, well, how would you feel if the Coyotes beat the Bruins? My answer was, if the Coyotes beat the Bruins, I'm paraphrasing, I believe I said, if the Coyotes beat the Bruins 8-0 in Boston, I would laugh pretty hard. And I've always had that side of me too. I think 35 years of watching teams I cheer for fail has really given me humility when it comes to my optimism about any team I cheer for. Because, I have 2011 with the Bruins, and I have 1999 with Dallas, and I have nothing else to show for it in terms of championships. 37 years, and twice, I've been really happy at who won the Stanley Cup. Twice. You're more likely to have a complete solar eclipse over your house than I am to watch the Stanley Cup champion and be happy about it. Because almost always it's a team that I'm not really happy to see win it, or I'm ambivalent. I don't care. There are plenty of years where somebody wins the cup and I go, well, good for them. And there are a lot of times where I'm like, oh, I didn't want them to win it. Why did they win it again? But sometimes it gets lost. And, when I try to report day to day and I try to do this, I try to remain as middle of the road as possible. But as soon as I'm watching games, and when I'm tweeting while I'm watching a game, that's the emotional fan side. And I don't do emotional fan stuff because there's already a channel that does that. And I'm not going to do what he does on his channel, because that would be something that people will be like, oh, you're copying him. And I don't want to do that. Of course, that's Steve Dangle. I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that when you come to my channel, you get a different experience. I don't want you to click on a video and go, oh, that's too bad. He started taking ideas from other people. That's not cool. So I did it once as a Canuck fan, where I argued the Canuck fan versus the analytical side of me. And right away somebody said, oh, Steve Dangle does this. He has Leaf fan reaction videos. And I went, okay. I haven't done it since. That was well over a year ago that somebody told me that. So, it's a fine line that I walk, but I do my best at whatever I do for this channel to make sure that I'm as unbiased as possible. But absolutely, I cheer and I am happy with certain results and I'm unhappy with others. You watch the live reaction of me watching the Blues and the Canucks. You can tell when the Blues scored in overtime, because I roll my eyes and go, yeah, of course, right, yep. Because again, I've got 35 years of conditioning that Vancouver will lose, Boston will disappoint me, and Dallas will frustrate me to death. So it's not something that's new. It's new for me to broadcast about it online, but it's not new to me. Watching the Ducks and the Sharks right now, the Ducks are up 2-1, and honestly, I'm kind of rooting for the Ducks right now because of the amount of injuries that they've had and because of who's injured right now. I kind of want to see them do well. Any team that does well while they're missing Ryan Kesler, and that's the fan side of me. But it's a fluid thing. And it's funny because if a matchup occurs in the first round where I'm cheering for the Leafs, the first thing that I would hear is, oh, now you're on the bandwagon. When I don't jump on any bandwagon. Really don't. Any team that I cheer for, I can show you along a long enough timeline that I've cheered for them before. The problem is there hasn't been video proof of it until 2016. So one of the things I like about this channel going forward is there's video proof going back. Video proof going back over a period of almost a year and a half now, of my fandom for teams, my fandom for certain teams, and proof that I hope you guys will research and find that who I cheer for and against is relatively consistent. And it's those teams in the middle that move. Anaheim's moved up just because Kessler's not in the lineup. That makes a huge difference. I don't like Ryan Kesler. And for Toronto, tonight's game wasn't about me not liking the Leafs or deciding to cheer for Arizona. I always cheer for underdogs. Arizona comes in having won 2 in a row, and now they've won 3 in a row. And it's nice to see that they're no longer looking like a threat to the records of futility set by the Washington Capitals. That they won't have to worry about those records of futility. They're awful. I don't want to see any team go through that. And tonight they moved up another couple of ranks on the power rankings. 3 wins in a row will do that for you, especially when the teams that you're passing aren't winning right now. So there were people who joked on Saturday, oh, so if Coyotes go on a 7-game winning streak, they'll be in the top 15. No, but if they go on a 7-game winning streak, they won't be in the bottom row anymore. Winning 3 in a row on the road, that's impressive. Does it hurt the teams ahead of them? Right now it does, because they're really low ranked. But as they move their way up through the rankings, those wins become less shocking. Think Vegas. A Vegas loss now has a lot less of an impression to me in terms of where I would put a team in the rankings compared to at the start of the year, which is when I didn't do the rankings. So there's that. But yeah, I've always been a hockey fan, first and foremost. So, and who I cheer for, it depends as much on players as anything else. And tonight was just a situation. And it was that the Leafs had gone on this tremendous 6-game winning streak, which was fine and fantastic, but they're still not playing perfect hockey. I mean, and nobody really is. And if you don't see those losses dotted in amongst your record, it can be really hard to get players who are making mistakes to stop making said mistakes. And I've said this before, that they'll say, well, but we won. And not every player will do that. A lot of players will take that creative criticism, but all you need is a guy in your top six or one of your top two defensemen saying, yeah, I know I made those mistakes tonight, coach, but we won. And then the next game, he's still making those mistakes because you won. So in a loss like this, it gives Mike Babcock a lot more he can do with the Leafs tonight than he could have done after any of the last 6 games. So, a loss every now and then can be good for your team, and I think in this case, it could be exactly what was needed for Toronto. Because Mike Babcock's a coach who cracks the whip, does it very well. He's very good at his job, and I don't see the Leafs going on a long slide out of this either. But this is kind of a good game for them. Their next game's on Wednesday when everybody's playing. I believe it's Florida they're playing next. So you see, by losing to Arizona, when Florida's the team they're playing, they should be a little more competitive. I would look for 5 or 6 goals from Toronto against Florida, because they should be downright angry and embarrassed by what happened against Arizona. So sometimes these losses are for the best. And I say that from watching hockey for a very long time. And watching a lot of hockey games. And having watched every team in the league as much as I can this year, there is not much difference between the teams at or near the top and the teams at or near the bottom. And while the teams like, Buffalo doesn't have any luck, the Coyotes didn't have any luck before this last week, Florida's had a run of bad luck, Montreal, just everything's falling apart. Edmonton's missing some major pieces in terms of being able to compete and get into that top slot. But in terms of actual difference between that first-ranked team in the league and 31st, it is nowhere near the difference as back in the late 80s between the number 1 ranked team in the NHL and the 21st, then last place team in the NHL. The difference between the best and the worst has shrunk over the last 30 years. And it will continue to do so, because the draft being as important as it is, young players being as important as they are, the salary cap, all of these things will combine so that teams that draft early will be able to rebuild faster than they could have 10 years ago, because players are more NHL ready now out of junior than they were 10 years ago. So we're now into a period where really rebuilds should be faster. And we should see teams like Toronto, what Toronto's done last year and this year, what Edmonton did last year. This should be more of a regular thing. So we'll see if I'm right or wrong. But that's the fun part of being a fan. And first and foremost, I am a hockey fan. Thanks for watching. Let me know your favorite moments in hockey, all the time you've watched. That kind of thing, your least favorite moments. I may be doing a video on that soon, on the top 10 moments that made me scream at the television, both good and bad. I think that could be an interesting one. And let me know any suggestions you have in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe. Buttons are your friends, and I'll talk to you again soon.